Hey, good morning, everybody. John here at Havoc Maker Studio and FMP Wargamers. Welcome back to part 2 of our series that points out some issues with Atomic Mass Games and Marvel Crisis Protocol, but they're good issues. They're not bad issues, but they're issues, and you know what? We need to address it. Now, I didn't do any big brain moves. It wasn't super weird calculus, deep diving research. It was just noticing something and addressing it. For sure, there are people out there that have also gone, you know what? I noticed this as well, but I haven't seen any videos or any blogs or anything about it. And it's really not a big issue. It's just something that needs to be addressed. And if you watch part 1 of this, you know what I'm talking about, and I'm going to rehash it just a little bit, and then we're going to get right into some of the fixes that we could be seeing coming down the line. I think they're definitely plausible. And then there's going to be a part 3 to this. I'm trying to get these videos out today. This one should be up around 9 a.m. Central Time. I like to get the other one done around noon for you guys to be able to watch and listen to during your lunch break. All before whatever crazy weather here is about to hit in Texas. Well, actually, from Texas all the way up to New York with sub-freezing or freezing weather. And you know, if you remember from last year, Texas the state doesn't know how to really handle energy. Actually, we don't understand how to do energy grids. We let people from another state do it, and we lose our minds here when we get an inch or two of snow, and there might be a little bit of ice on the road or ice on our steps or walkway or whatever. We just lose our mind, which is really weird things. I'm from the Midwest, well, Ohio, and then eventually Missouri and Kansas. So it's weird to see the reaction, but if you're not used to it, I get it. But come on, Texas, you're supposed to be big and strong, and you're all big trucks and yeehaw. I don't get it sometimes, but I digress. Let's talk about the issue at hand. First, I do want to talk about something else that kind of will bleed into other future videos. They're on Facebook and on a podcast, and I'm going to get the links for both those in the description below. Is Recalibration Matrix. Like me, they keep up, or me like them, whichever. They keep up on all things Marvel Crisis Protocol. They have a great Facebook page that's always up to date as Atomic Mass Games drops information, or if they get some information from other people, they drop it on their Facebook page. And then we have a podcast, and I'll get a link for at least one web page, the Bifrost or Across the Bifrost, that has those podcasts on it. They haven't had a recent one since near the end of last year, but they're still a good read or a good listen to, especially while you're driving. And if you're just getting into the game or you're about ready to take your game to the next level, it's a good listen. So please give them even if you don't care too much, you know, at least give them a support. Go at least jump on their Facebook page, give them a like, and a follow on, or maybe listen to on their podcast, that sort of thing. Just help them out. While you jump down to that links below, make sure you hit that red subscribe button. That means you're not subscribed, and that way you can keep up to date on these videos. And yeah, you might have to make a Facebook, what do you call it? Facebook account. I get it. You might not want to, but you can do all sorts of privacy things on there to make sure you don't get spammed. And I know you have to make a Facebook or a YouTube account to be able to subscribe here, but it's a minute or two of your time, and it helps the channel out. Puts you, at least for this channel, it puts you in a grouping that allows me to do giveaways for everybody that is a subscriber, and I can see your email. If I can't see your email, you're hiding it from viewers or users, then I can't include you, but I would like to. And we got a giveaway coming up. But once again, I'm digressing. Let's talk about the issue at hand. Now, yesterday's video, I went at length over some numbers. Today, we're just going to kind of barely skim over it so we can get into the some of the solutions. So let's take a look. So first up, we have the kind of the current state of the game. All right. Now this is just some basic numbers. We have a total of 110 characters. That's characters, not models. There's more models than there are characters because there's alternate versions of characters like Ant-Man and Wasp and Miss Marvel, the Hood, that sort of thing. So I'm not counting those. And I'm also not counting the reprints of characters where the stat cards are the same. It's just a new model like Spider-Man, Dr. Octopus, and Iron Man, Iron Man, and the future version of if everything is true, the new rivals that we'll probably see this year of Red Skull versus Captain America. So we have 65 heroes to 42 villains. That's a 23 difference. That's a big number. That number should be considerably smaller. Maybe around maybe 12, 13 character difference, maybe. Of course, there's going to be more heroes because they're on brand, and they've got better marketing going along that lines than a lot of the villains. But I'll get into why we should be looking at these villains as well. And when you break down this into percentage, 60% of the total characters are heroes versus 40% that are villains. I'm not really counting the rogue agents. I put the numbers up there for that purposes. But we're looking at a 60-40 split, which 20% doesn't sound like a lot, but it really is, especially when you turn around and look at, oh, it's 23 extra heroes versus 42 villains. And yeah, we do have some very powerful villains like Thanos and Dormammu, who could conceivably be really worth two villains. But even that number doesn't do anything to diminish that 20 plus difference in characters, that 20% difference. Those are big numbers, guys. It doesn't seem like it, but they really are in the grand scheme of things. And then it's not just there, but as I pointed out yesterday, is that there's a difference in the affiliations. Now, I'm not really counting I'm not counting at all. I just put the numbers up there for this reason. But the total affiliations are 18. I'm not counting the unaffiliated. I am counting Dark Dimension, even though it's technically only Dormammu, but you can fill it out. So I'm not really counting, or I'm counting him, but just so we can get our numbers up there. But we're looking at 12 hero teams versus 6 villain teams. That's a big difference. That number should be a lot smaller, and that's a 66 to 34% in their respective categories there. That is a big difference. Now, I'm not saying, please keep in mind, I'm not saying that Atomic Mass Games owes us anything, that they have to do a 50-50 split right down the middle. But these differences in percentages should be a lot smaller, like in regards to, say, the difference in the characters. Those characters should maybe be in the 10 to 12% range, with maybe, like I said, 10 to 12 characters, but not a 20% difference. That's double of what that difference should even be. And same thing here with the villains. Because this can fluctuate, yeah, but when you start getting this bigger and bigger gap in between the different factions and the different heroes, that starts to create a problem. And creates a disparity between the two. And in my opinion, we need to fix that. So I'm not going to go into too much, but I want to too much else about that, the numbers and everything. Let's talk about the characters and the villains and the villain teams. Now, this is part 2 of a 3-part video series. That third one, like I said, will be out around noonish today. So please pay attention to that, because I'm trying to get some of the DBC whatever list villain groups and the A list that a lot of people talk about, either in store, online, or even replying to a couple of the videos. And I love comments, by the way. So guys, please leave me a comment on the video. Let me know what you think of the video. Am I on point with it? Do you want to see other stuff? And yes, I realize that we're having some sound issues because my sound dampening stuff is gone. I have to get new stuff, and that's what's causing this kind of weird voice issue. So I apologize for that. It'll be like that for probably a few more weeks. Let's talk about the Marauders. If you're not familiar with the Marauders, this is the original group of Marauders, what you're seeing here, not the present group of Marauders, which are kind of good guys-ish. So the original group of Marauders were formed by Mr. Sinister. They were sent into the tunnels of New York City to essentially wipe out the Morlocks, who are mutants. And these are the type of mutants that were homeless or were chased off for, I'm just going to call it racism, humans against mutants. They were a lot of fear against mutants. There's a lot of this belief that you could get infected with mutantism. They thought it was kind of like a disease. This is like AIDS period, so it's like a disease, and people feared them. Which is really weird because it's like, oh, we can accept these aliens and superhuman powered people, but we can't accept humans with natural born power. It's a mutant. The whole thing with the mutants is really weird. But a lot of these mutants also are not the pretty mutants. They're not the Ken and Barbie dolls. They were the ones that were disformed or had weird mutations where they had like just one giant eyeball in their head, or their multiple arms. Or like my favorite Morlock is Marrow, where she had bone growths coming out of her body. So these are like the cast off of mutant society, who's already has issues. So he goes down there, or he has his guys go down there, and they wipe him out, hundreds and hundreds. And the X-Men come and fight. Thor, I think another one of the Avengers come. Power Pack of all people come. They fight them off, run them off, and save the day. There's a price though that's paid. We'll come up with that in today's later video. With an X-Men, one of the founding X-Men, suffering at the hands of the Marauders. Now, why do I think the Marauders could be on here? It'd be a great evil mutant group, and that we can also get some extra characters out here. Now, I don't think we need to get all these characters, and there's some new iterations of the Marauders, and not the good guy-ish version right now, but some other upgrades over the years. Some characters disappeared, some stayed. So we've already got Sabretooth in there. You can see him on the kind of middle on the left there. We already got that character. So what could we see is Vertigo and Arclight, the two ladies behind, and I might be wrong on that. But right behind the guy in the center, who is Harpoon, who is a very notorious guy that we'll come into some talk about later. And then behind Sabretooth is Polaris. Now, Polaris is a hero. However, during this period, she was possessed by an entity called Malice. And so she was bad girl. Now, Malice could come into play later on also because she was Malice controlled Sue Storm from the Fantastic Four. And I want to say either Jean Grey, Madeline Pryor, or Rachel Summers, one of those two. I think there was another character that she or Malice had possessed. Insignificant to this right now. And also far to the back on the left-hand side is a character named Scalp Hunter. He's got a connection with, I think he's got technopathy or something along that lines. He can control and manipulate machines, almost like bioorganic in a sense. So I pretty much the left half of this roster is ideal. We could fill in some of these other characters, but I think on the low end, we could see this because Polaris is an X-Men. She was an X-Force. She's an X-Factor. So there's some nice crossovers. Sabretooth is already there. Now, the rest of these characters, I think it'd just be cool just to have them. This is more of a wish list group, but I wanted to at least acknowledge them so nobody put it in the comments like, what about the Marauders? Well, I got you covered, guys. Let's step it up a bit. Now, these are really old team roster images from Marvel Comics. That's why you're seeing these older costumes. Now, let's talk about the HELLFIRE Club. These probably have the greater chance of appearing. Now, not all of them, but I think at the very least, we can see 2 to 3 of them come forward. Now, the HELLFIRE Club did have at times a character called Madeline Pryor. We might see her pop up. She's like the Goblin Queen. She's about ready to pop up again in the X-Men comic universe. She's usually attached with either Scott Summers or Cyclops, or his more likely his brother Havoc, Alex Summers, who should be coming out eventually. I think I can see those two together, or Havoc and Polaris together, because they've got a thing. But that aside, in the Dark Phoenix, Jean Grey was attached to the Hellfire Club when she became Phoenix. So right there front and center is Sebastian Shaw. I think he would be really good to be on the tabletop, not only from a visual standpoint, but he's got a great power set where he can absorb energy and then channel it into his body to be superhuman strong, fast, tough, the whole works. He can be a real powerhouse. And I could see him getting bonus energy from attacks, pretty much anything. And that's any damage dealt to him except for psychic damage. And if you watch the X-Men First Class, he was played by Kevin Bacon. And I'm sure there's some 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon that you can do there. Now to his left, the one with the lady with the black hair, black outfit, that I believe that is Selene, and she is essentially a psychic vampire. She's a mutant, but she absorbs psychic energy. She's been around for centuries. She's got some other abilities like pyrokinetics and telekinetics, so she could be a real good support character for this roster. And then to the right of him, no, left of him, you know what? Over his right shoulder is the White Queen, Emma Frost. She definitely should be coming for this game because she is a prominent character on multiple teams like the Hellions, the X-Men, I think X-Force at one point, and of course the Hellfire Club. She is one of the most powerful psychics out there, rivaling. She's a rival for Jean Grey, Marvel Girl, or whatever she's going by these days, and of course Professor X. She also has a secondary mutation, which would be a great visual in game because you can have both characters, both models come with this game where she can take on a diamond form. When this diamond form happens, she's resistant, highly resistant to physical damage. She's, I believe, invulnerable or impervious, depending on the terminology, to psychic attacks. And she gets an increased strength, durability, that sort of thing that you get with superhuman people in the Marvel Universe. She becomes a badass. Now, she can't use her psychic powers, but she can go from being kind of a support psychic character to influence people's minds or mentally F them up with psychic blast to a physical character. There's that's really cool, and we've got characters like that right now with the Hood and Miss Marvel. There's some variations there we can see played out with her. So those three definitely. Now there's a couple characters on here like the two gentlemen at the far back. The two gentlemen with the purple jackets. Don't know who they are. They're insignificant. Now, the two gentlemen closer to the front, right behind the White Queen and the Black Queen, behind the White Queen is Leland. He has the ability to increase mass or decrease mass, and then behind the Black Queen is Donald Pierce. He's more of a cyborg. I don't think he has any mutant powers anymore or at all. He was in the Logan movie, so there's another tie-in with MCU-ish. Now, at the far back on the left left-hand side of this picture is Mastermind. He had the guy with the long purple magenta coat. Big power player in regards to controlling people's minds, but he's not like us. We might not see him. And then on the back far right, I believe that's Lourdes or Lourdes, whatever. If it is, she's a teleporter. And she was married to Sebastian Shaw. I think this has a good possibility of coming front and center. Now let me go to the last team for this video, and so I'd like to keep this a little bit shorter than yesterday's, and hopefully we can drop it down to the last one. I want to talk about a lot of fan favorites. So a lot of people's fan favorite here, the Thunderbolts. And now Thunderbolts I talked about a little bit in part 1 of this video, as they have a lot of ties to the Masters of Evil through Baron Zemo, who is actually in the Marvel Crisis Protocol game. He's in the MCU, especially if you watch Falcon and Winter Soldier and Civil War, and I think something else, or might have been the Winter Soldier. I don't remember now. Anyways, he's a prominent character. And the Thunderbolts were created basically to disguise themselves as a hero group. And some of these villains, and there you can see them on the right-hand side, are a lot of classic villains. And this is what I want to talk about, is the reason why I think a lot of these classic B-list, C-list, D-list characters, I realize that as a couple of people pointed out, that heroes are more prominent. People know they're on brand. They're easily more recognizable. So why care about all these heroes that nobody, or these villains that nobody cares about? The reason why is because these characters are the ones that gave rise to a lot of the villains that we have today. These are classic heroes or classic villains. And if you look at most of the costumes, these are the classic costumes, or some variations of the classic costumes, what we recognize as Marvel heroes and villains from the Marvel universe when we're playing Marvel Crisis. And these colorful costumes, these bizarre powers, these crazy names is what Marvel Comics was founded on. Yes, some of them just aren't going to probably make it into the Marvel Crisis Protocol game. We probably won't see Stilt Man or D-Man. Unfortunately, we probably won't see Armadillo or the Porcupine. God, I can't, these characters. A Frogman. We probably won't see any of them. But there are still enough characters out there, enough villains out there with the crazy powers, the crazy colorful costumes that we can bring to the forefront. So Thunderbolts is one of them. So on the left-hand side there, we have the Thunderbolts. You can see the guy with the sword and the big American flag. That's Citizen 5 or Baron Zemo. Easy to port over the abilities and then soup them up with some new versions, or altered versions. Now, over his left shoulder is, in that white outfit with the white hair, is a character called Swan, I believe it's Swan, named Screaming Mimi is her supervillain name. She's definitely on the low end of villains, but she's popped up all over the place back in the day. She's got sonic powers, and in this version of her, it's now with the suit modifications from the Fixer, that she is now souped up, be able to do some light constructs on top of flying, and of course her sonic blasts. Now behind her is Moonstone. I'm not going to say she would be a evil version of Captain Marvel in the game, but she has a lot of light-based powers. She can fly, strength, durability, that sort of thing. I think she'd be really good. Now, she is also one of the Masters of Evil. At least I think she's in the third iteration or fourth iteration of Masters of Evil, the one I was talking about yesterday. Now, the big guy in the back is Goliath. I think they were calling him Atlas in the Thunderbolts. And super strength when he grows bigger. I think he's still strong when he's super strong when he's normal size, but he gets stronger and tougher as he grows up to giant size. And we don't necessarily have a full-on giant size character. This is why I think he will appear before we see like Giant Man. And I think if we do see Giant Man, it'll probably be like the Ben Foster. I think it's Ben. Let's just say Dr. Foster from from the Marvel Crisis universe, as a black gentleman played by Lawrence Fishburne in the Ant-Man and Wasp movie that came out a few years ago. Surprise. I think he's back to being alive in the comics. He might not be. He might still be dead. Spoiler alert from years ago. But I think we'll see Atlas/Goliath. Now, Goliath is another one of those that's a Masters of Evil. Easy to port over into two different teams, the Thunderbolts and the Masters of Evil. Perfect. Next up is Mach 5. He was the Beetle. The Beetle is definitely an old school Spider-Man villain, but now he's been kind of overshadowed by the Sinister Six, really. I think he was a part of one of the original Sinister Six, who I think now we're calling them Spider Foes, which is silly. They should have just called them Sinister Six, because that's who they are, even with the rotating roster. But he runs around in a power suit, kind of poor man's Iron Man, but really still a cool character. And then the Fixer, I forget what they call him in the Thunderbolts, but the Fixer, I think, was also the Wizard, one of the Frightful Four. I could be wrong about that. I thought I had that on point, but I've already forgot about it. But he's one I think designed almost everybody's new suits, their new super suits, if you will, and their weapons, their gear, and everything. Genius level character. I don't remember him being in too many other groups. He could have been in an iteration of Masters of Evil. Very easy to do, but I don't remember too much. He's definitely forgettable. But these characters, I mean, you can see their new costumes, their old costumes a little bit there. Visually speaking and power-wise, these guys and gals would be great for the tabletop. I think the Thunderbolts definitely have a good chance of being on the tabletop. I think they would be great for us to see visually, to be able to play, and of course the cross affiliation, especially when you look at the Masters of Evil, because you have 3 out of that 6-person roster, half of them are on the Masters of Evil. So now you're getting, let's say you just take this as your villain team. So now we get 6 new villains, right? And 2 team affiliations out of this. Perfect. That increases that number. And with 6 characters, that could be one release wave for a quarter. Perfect. And if we got to throw in a hero, we can throw a single hero box in there. I mean, we can pretty much pick anybody. Pick Red Hulk. I don't care. But this would be very ideal over any of the ones that I've shown today, because the multiple affiliations and be able to hero. They could be heroes and villains, because in the Thunderbolts, after a period of time when they're outed to the public as villains, some bad stuff happens, some good stuff happens, and most of them, they decide, hey, let's do some good. I really liked doing good. Not necessarily I want to be a good guy, but we got praised a lot. People liked us. This was fun. And they would go on to create kind of a good guy version of what they did after they booted out Citizen 5 / Baron Zemo. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about this video, and leave it down in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, or the thumbs up or thumbs down. But you know what? Leave a comment, hit the subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And head over to Recalibration Matrix. I'll have that link down in the description. Give them a follow. And then head over to Across the Bifrost. Listen to Recalibration Matrix. I have not found a web page for them. And if there is, you guys put that web page in the link below or in the comments below, and I'll get it updated for the video, for the next video or the video after. So around noon, you should see part 3, which will be the end of the series, but it's most certainly not the end of all the villain groups and the villains that are possible out there. I'm just going for the ones that are most likely. And of course, I'm not including the villains that are out there, especially like the alien groups, because there's a lot of alien groups out there, but they're more individuals than they are like an alien super villain team. I know some people think the Imperial Guard from the Shi'ar or the Shi'ar, or whatever, however you want to say it, are villains, but they're heroes. But they're heroes for their people. They're heroes here on Earth sometimes, but they're for their people. That would be like us sending the Avengers to go do hero stuff. It's like, for us, they're heroes, but to other people, they're villains. So one person's heroes, another person's villains. Does that make sense? So we'll talk about aliens in the future. I just wanted to get the villains taken care of, because this is the biggest discrepancy that we have going on right now. Let me know what you guys think. I'll chat with you later. Maybe.